Hello, fellow collectors and YouTubers. Welcome back to Mastodon Comics and Collecting. This is episode 4 of What Else We Collect, and today I'm highlighting my video game console collection. You'll have to excuse the shakiness. I don't have a camera with a tripod, so I'm doing this on my phone, so bear with me. First up, we have the Sega Dreamcast. This console came out in 1998. It was the fourth console from Sega. Disc CD games. Had internet capabilities. I believe it was the first console to do so. Controller was a big bulky mess, I would like to say. Put your rumble pack in here and your save pack. Action triggers. Save pack had a digital screen on it. This is the Game Boy Advanced SP. Kind of built like a flip phone and had backlighting. It took Nintendo all those years to get to some backlighting so that you could actually see what you were playing. Apparently I had 2 of these because I just recently gave one to my nephew, which is cool. This is the ColecoVision. It was made by the Connecticut Leather Company. There's the acronym for their name. Came out in 1982, and Coleco is known more for Cabbage Patch Kids. Obviously, leather. Been in business a long time. This had not a really unique console because there was other consoles, as I'll show you. But this one had the action buttons on the side, a raised joystick, and the slot where you would put a template that would show you what buttons to push depending on the game. It had a plug-in for the games, for the controllers, much like the Nintendo. I've seen people retrofit Nintendo controllers because it's what they're more used to. This is your add-on interface, your expansion module interface, and the cartridge port. This is your add-on. This would get plugged into there, and then you would put Atari games. You would play Atari games and enable playability of Atari games, which Atari sued Coleco over this, but it was ruled in favor of Coleco because this was made off of off-the-shelf parts, and Atari had no jurisdiction over that. This is the first PlayStation, first CD console, basically, and came out in 1993. This one does not work. I had the refurbished, or the PS1 they called it. This is more of a rounded console. I no longer have it, unfortunately. This device is called the Famicom, or Family Computer. It was made by Nintendo, and this is the NES before the NES. So this was the console that was released in Japan. Has your eject button, your reset, your power. It was a top loader, much like the Super Nintendo. You flip that over, and there's your pins. Lift it up here. It's very light, very small. I'll zoom back to. That's your controller, much like the normal NES, but I liked how this one was set up. I wish they would have done the same way, with the exception of this. The controllers were hardwired in. So I've seen other YouTubers that have these, and they will play them. They will set them up backwards because these cords are not very long. So, but that came out in 1983 in Japan and sold very well, and they expanded to the global market. Nice little docks for the controllers, which is something that I really like. I don't have any games for this. That's something down the road I'm gonna try to invest in, maybe. This is the NES, and I will show you the size comparison between the toaster and the original. I mean, it's and if you've ever had one of these opened up, there's not a whole lot going inside, so it's kind of wasted space. But the advantage was the detachable controllers, obviously, with your ports. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's many from my generation that had this. And I've learned that you don't have to push that down in order for the game to play. You can just stick the game in and there you go. So kind of a useless manufacturing flaw. Game Boy Color. I got that from my niece and nephew. Super Nintendo top loader. The Super Nintendo that was released elsewhere had a more rounded construction. Why they chose to change the model of these two for U.S. markets, I have no idea, but it is what it is. Your power button, you reset. Again, a lot of people from my generation had this, so they know what I'm talking about, how it works and stuff. Now, the funny thing is, Super Nintendo, before the PlayStation came out, Super Nintendo was in the works to make a joint venture with Sony for the disc game systems, and that fell through. I know there's some YouTubers out there that have videos detailing this, and they've actually found a prototype for the Sony Nintendo venture, which I thought is cool. This is Mattel electronic basketball. I picked this up for like $5 at a flea market, and I think the battery died. Anyway, a lot of people from the 70s would remember these. This came out in, I believe, 1978. 1978. Super Nintendo was 91. NES was 86 for us. This is the Nintendo GameCube. I think I'm doing this out of order. But this was console number 4. No, this is console number... Yeah, this is console number 4 for Nintendo. And had a lot of... It had the small disc feature. This is the add-on, which enabled you to play Game Boy games on. But the disc that I have for this is it's not playable. It was a boot-up disc. You put the boot-up disc in there, and it allowed you to play the games, the Game Boy games on it. This sold somewhat well, but not as well as its predecessors, the 3 predecessors. This is the N64. Came out in 96, I believe. I can't remember. The disaster that was the N64 controller. I just think that's an ugly controller. Rumble pack, save pack, your shoulder buttons and so forth, top loader. This is the first console to allow 4 players, along with the Sega Saturn. This is the Game Boy Advanced, and it's pretty well worn out. The battery compartment you got a tape on. But this is another thing that I got from my niece and nephew. I can't remember when the Advance came out. I think it was 2000 or something like that. This is the Intellivision from Mattel. Mattel was, like many others, Atari and Coleco, they tried to get on board on the game, on the home game systems. And Burger Time was one of the big games for the Intellivision. As I said, with the ColecoVision, it had these templates. These are templates much like you would have seen for the ColecoVision. And as you can see, they had the controller. It's kind of similar. And you would put the template in through the top on this. Action buttons. And this is your disc button. This does not have a joystick, but it used the same functions. I'll fix that later. But it fits, the controllers fit nicely in there, like that. And this had the load port on the side. Is where you would put the games. Anybody my age would remember the Tiger Owl games. And I have several of these. This is Mortal Kombat. In baseball, I played this in a lot. Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Michael Jordan versus Bird basketball. That game sucks. And I played this one a lot too. It's a small handheld. This is the Sega Game Gear. I always wanted one of these. This had the backlight. Sega got that part right when they put it. It was Keller. But as you can see, it's pretty bulky. But, you know, standard D-pad button from Sega, 1 and 2 buttons. I picked this up with a case. Whoops. With a case and several games. And the magnifier for $30 off of Facebook, which I thought was very cool. Now, I did have a Sega Genesis. It was the Sega Genesis that I actually grew up with. It was my ex-brother-in-law's. I had bought it from him several years ago. And my oldest nephew laid claim to it that I was to... If I was to ever part with it, that he would get first dibs. So for his birthday, or his graduation rather, from college, I made up my mind that I was going to give that to him. I don't play this stuff that much. So between work and comics and stuff like that, it's just... let's see, I got several games down here. There's all the Sega games. Now, I have one of the little at-games consoles. So, any of the games, Sega games that I have there, I can play on that console. These are the Intellivision games. Things like poker and blackjack, checkers, NHL hockey, skiing, Donkey Kong. These are ColecoVision games, and I have a few of the classic Atari games, Berserk, Space Invaders, and Asteroids. Those are my Super Nintendo games, and my Nintendo games, and my N64 games. And as I said, I have the... Boy, that's dirty. I have the PlayStation 2, and that is my wife's Wii. She had that when we met. But that is my my collection, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the collection, and I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Mike Connors. He is, I went to college with him, and he's a local teacher at the local high school. He wanted to see my collection. So here you go, Mike. That's my collection, buddy. And I hope you enjoy it, because this video was very difficult to make. And I believe this is my 10th try. So, everybody have a great day. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and share. If not, that's fine too. As always, keep reading, keep collecting, keep reading, and keep sharing. And if you play video games, keep playing. Do what you love and love what you do. Later.